Hey, this is Road Warrior Animal, and you are listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio. Oh, what a rush.
The following announcement has been paid for by the Wrestling Epicenter.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Hello, ladies. Remember me? Let me talk to you, dummies.
It's now time.
It's beer time. TikTok.
It's showtime!
For the longest running wrestling talk show in history.
We are huge. It's going to be cool.
You're where it's at.
You're smart like me.
Tune in each and every week.
And you better keep listening, or I'll come out of your computer
And turn it on for you.
or else I'm going to kick your stinking teeth in.
We've been known by a few names.
The needs of the many far outweigh the needs of the few.
The Interactive Interview.
Interactive interview. Oh, yeah.
Interactive interview.
The interactive interview.
Interactive interview. The interactive interview.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive wrestling radio.
The Blaze.
Blaze 1260 AM.
The Blaze.
The Blaze.
Blaze. The Blaze Rock.
And a lot of other names.
Weekend Warrior of Wrestling. The Pile Driver.
The Epa Wrestling Center.
Street Count Wrestling. The Hours Lab.
But it's all one show. The Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter. The Wrestling Epicenter.
The Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter, dude.
The Wrestling Epicenter. Don't get off.
And your host from day one,
By ignorance or arrogance.
James Walsh.
Wake up, sleepyheads.
I could care less.
It all starts.
What a rush. Oh, Boomer Sooner.
Thank you very much.
I got 2 words for you. Thumbs down. Breaking necks and cashing checks. I've heard a lot about you guys.
Check it out. Get out of my face. You win.
But I'm desperately out of time!
So what you gonna do when Blaze Mania runs wild on you?
Now.
Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. Joining us on the Newsmaker line right now is a gentleman who hasn't joined us in almost 3 years to the day. He is the last real man. Silas Young, are you with me, sir?
I am here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to have you back on. A lot has changed in the last 3 years, not the least of which is this whole pandemic thing. So instead of it being the whole elephant in the room during the conversation, let's tackle that right away. How are you doing since the world stopped turning in March?
I think everybody's life has just slowed down. You know, it's most people aren't going into work. We've actually able to work one time since February, which was a few weeks back. We taped the Pure Wrestling title tournament, and that was the first time. So it was rough. I mean, to be honest with you, I think it was hard for a lot of people. Most people aren't used to just sitting at home for months on end. It's nice that things seem to be slowly changing a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I think I'm like everybody else in the fact that it was a huge adjusting period.
Very good. And you mentioned it, Ring of Honor is back in action. You guys are airing new episodes of TV, which features the Pure title tournament, and it's really cool to see you guys back in action. Was it cool to get back in the ring for Ring of Honor?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was. It was something I had been, chomping at the bit for months. It was just, it was a little different with no fans being there, but definitely excited to be back.
All right, and then that episode, by the way, that features your first round match in the Pure Title Tournament airs this weekend, and you're going to be taking on Fred Yehi. And I saw the video package you guys put out teasing the match, and looks really like it's going to be a match to see. What do you want us fans to look out for this weekend on Ring of Honor TV?
Yeah, like you said, it's one of the first round matches for the Pure Title Tournament. I'd never worked with Fred before. Seen him a little bit, and heard really good things about him. He's an excellent pro wrestler, and I wouldn't be surprised if you don't continue seeing him in Ring of Honor. For some people who don't know, Fred isn't necessarily a regular with Ring of Honor. I believe it might have been his first time having a match there, but you know, it was great. It was you know, the match turned out really, really well. I was happy with it. You know, it was Fred can bring it. You know, he belongs in the position that he had with the opportunity that he had to take place in the tournament. You know, I was nervous though. I was real nervous going into it. I hadn't wrestled in, you know, 6 months. And then you top that off with the fact that I've never really wrestled in front of no fans before. So
right.
Definitely was two huge adjustments, you know.
Very much so, yeah. And I did a media call with Cody Rhodes, and after the thing, I titled it, Cody Rhodes talks about the coronavirus, COVID-19, the Kung Flu, and all the other names that there are for this thing, because that is the only thing people asked him. So I don't want to do that to you with this question, so we'll try and spruce them up a little bit and keep the pandemic in the background a little bit.
Right.
All right, so let's see here. You guys, I mean yourself and Jonathan Gresham, really brought back the pure rules into people's minds last year when you did your match, and that was a lot of fun. I'll be honest with you, I'm a old school Ring of Honor fan. I was watching you guys, you know, back when you were on RF video VHS tapes, and here we are, you know, 18 years later. You guys are bringing back some of the rules we haven't seen regularly in 14 years. Do you think your guys' match, bringing back the pure rules, kind of put that back in people's minds to try this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely did. You know, that was something me and John had talked about at the time. You know, John's you know, when you think about pure wrestling, John Gresham's the guy that you think about. And, you know, when we were doing this last year, we got to talking about, you know, how it would be cool to try and bring back the pure title. And, you know, it was something we had even suggested maybe bringing it back for, you know, a one-night special thing. So I think that's definitely the thing that got the ball rolling on it. You know, it was a fun wrestling program that John and I did, and you know, I thought it turned out really well, and I think it turning out well is part of maybe why they brought it back.
I agree. I will be honest, and this is the smart mark in me. I was afraid that there could have been a double turn almost with that when he cheated to win, that they almost might have made you a sympathetic babyface, but I can't see the Last Real Man being a babyface in his current role. Can you agree?
Well, you know, somewhat, maybe yes and no. I mean, I've been doing the tag team with Josh Woods. Mm-hmm. You know, I would say for the last year, but it really hasn't been, because for 6 months of the last year, no one did anything. But, you know, last fall, you know, we started tagging together. I started mentoring them, and, you know, we're on a good roll, and
right.
You know, something that's going to continue, you know, when we come back, you know. So it's, you know, it's something that I'm looking forward to. It's Josh has definitely brought out a different side in me, but, you know, I'm still me. You know, I still do what I do and what I do best, you know. So
absolutely.
I guess it'd be all perspective based.
You might have just answered it, and it's kind of the next one on my list. So I'll still ask it, but I'll try and put a different spin on it. You and Josh Woods have been teaming up, and in fact, you guys won the #1 contender spot, beating the Briscoes, in a pretty surprising outcome. I think a lot of people had their eyes opened about you guys when you guys won that match. I guess my question would be, is that something you're going to continue to chase once normalcy returns to Ring of Honor and they're doing regular shows?
Yeah, I mean, I think I absolutely would. You know, the whole point of, you know, me taking Josh under my wing and mentoring him was because, you know, I saw something in him. You know, he's a multi-time national collegiate wrestling champion. He's competed in MMA. He's a very excellent pro wrestler. And, you know, when we started tagging together, it slowly just kind of evolved for both of us, and we've been able to gel really well together as a tag team. So that's something I definitely like to, you know, keep working on.
Absolutely. And of course, Josh Woods is also in the Pure Title Tournament. Is there any concerns about you two having to maybe face off somewhere down the road?
You know, there is a possibility. We're in different brackets, but, you know, if it comes down to the finals, we could face each other in the finals. So that's a very good possibility, and definitely something I've thought about over the last couple of weeks.
All right. So I mentioned that we've had you on before, and when we had you on, we had both yourself and Jay Lethal on right at the same time to promote your Last Man Standing match that you guys had. I believe it was Death Before Dishonor 2017. great match. Really enjoyed it. I love to go back and ask folks, though, looking back at it, what we were promoting then, how they enjoyed that experience. So looking back at that match, how did you enjoy how that came off?
That match was great, but it was really brutal. I don't know if you remember, but there was a point where I think I grabbing Bobby Cruz, the ring announcer's belt, because it was last man standing, anything goes. And I tried hitting Jay with it, and he'd gotten his hands on that belt, and he laid into me with it. I think he probably hit me 30 or 40 times with that leather belt. My body was completely marked up with lash marks, and it was a match that I felt like the crowd really got into and really enjoyed. There's a lot of drama, a lot of really suspenseful moments in it. So it was pretty brutal. I'm very proud of it.
Awesome. And kind of to go back to the pandemic, is that maybe a odd positive about having everybody not working for a few months, that maybe you guys have the opportunity to heal up from all the nagging injuries?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a big thing. When everything first closed down, I actually said to myself, I'm just going to take a couple weeks off and just let my body rest. And then it just turned into so long where I was like, oh man, I got to get some workout equipment here or something, But yeah, I think a lot of guys benefited from that, talking to a couple of guys, they said that their bodies felt like, it's the first time in years that they've had the opportunity to let their body really heal.
Awesome. Now, I know that maybe it wasn't the match you were quite hoping for, but you were a part of the G1 Supercard at Madison Square Garden, and that is just such a huge deal. I ordered it on pay-per-view, as did so many others, and I know it meant a lot to that locker room. What did the G1 Supercard mean to the Ring of Honor crew?
I mean, it was huge. I think it was, the biggest deal for any of us. It was Madison Square Garden, the biggest wrestling venue you can wrestle in the world. And no other wrestling company besides WWE or WWF had ran a wrestling show at Madison Square Garden in 50 years. So, to be part of something that's history like that is huge. And then to be able to just be able to have that experience of coming out and wrestling in Madison Square Garden, it was probably the highlight of my career.
That's awesome. And it was a great match. I remember going in that you were a little bit upset that you weren't put a little higher on the card, if I remember, but that might have been storyline anyway.
Well, I think that's any wrestler. We all strive to be in the main event. So you always want to be able to have the biggest spot on the card, especially when you're wrestling for a big company like Ring of Honor. It's your life and it's your job, and you want to be able to get the most out of it you can. So I think that's it's a little real.
All right. So to circle back to that elephant in the room again, the pandemic, you run your own wrestling promotion. I assume that had to also be put on the hold, on back burner during all of this. Is that the case as well?
Well, actually, so I was running a wrestling company for about a year and a half. And I just had some issues with the building, and then some stuff with the ring, and I'd actually stopped running at the end of last year. So, I mean, it's something, though, that, I wasn't able to pursue because of the pandemic. It was something that I wanted to start looking into again, but, that's kind of been put on the back burner for the moment.
I'm sorry to hear that. Of course, you know where I'm going to go with this, which is probably a question you'll be asking every interview that you ever do until the end of time, which is that night when the guy who everybody assumes was CM Punk appeared for your promotion. Now that we're a little bit clear of it and the smoke is cleared a little bit, do you still think that was CM Punk?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. The building that I ran at the time, actually, they had wrestling there for maybe 25, 30 years off and on, but the good chunk of that time there had been wrestling promotions that had ran shows out of there. And that is the building that CM Punk had his first match in. Mm-hmm. So with running at that building, they're going to be closing, and I was the last person to run a show there. So I thought it would be cool to bring in some guys who had wrestled there over the years, some kind of a little nod to the building and, the history behind it. So I, contacted Ace Steel, who, for people that don't know, that's the guy who trained CM Punk. And, Ace is an excellent wrestler. He works, I'm pretty sure he works for WWE at the Performance Center right now as a coach. I contacted him to do, and Dave Prazak, who is also friends with him and Punk, and in the Chicago area, which is only about 80 miles from Milwaukee. had contacted us about wanting to do the show as well, and we're more than happy to have him on it. And shortly before that match, someone had come up to me and said, "Oh, hey, just so you know, Punk's going to do a run-in on this match." And I said, "What? Punk's here?" And they're like, "Yeah, I guess he's going to run in and do whatever he did." And I was like, "All right, cool." So people have asked me, like, "Can you confirm it's him?" Like, I can't, because I never even seen him. Like, I seen him run in with the mask on, do the thing in the ring, and then he left. But there was a lot of things that came out after it, like he had done a BJJ tournament in West Dallas at the high school, which was literally about 7 blocks from the building that I was running at. And he's friends with Ace. That's where he'd had his last match. And just for the fact that I don't know why anybody would lie to me and say that he's going to do a run-in. So I mean, I'm pretty sure that it was him. And the sweatshirt that he was wearing, I guess, was the same sweatshirt that he had been wearing at the tournament earlier that day on some pic that he had posted on Twitter. So apparently there was a lot of stuff that came out to validate it. But like I always say, I didn't see him there, so I can't 100% confirm it.
All right. Well, thank you for that. I'm sorry to ask you. I hate to ask the same questions everybody else asks.
No worries.
All right. So Jonathan Gresham, who we talked about a little bit earlier today, had a quote that made some Newsline headlines earlier, and he says that he thinks Ring of Honor needs to hire more women of honor. And I know that your lovely wife is a wrestler as well. Have you ever thought about her coming into the Women of Honor ranks?
Well, she actually doesn't wrestle. She's done some balleting, stuff like that, and has done a few mixed tag matches, but no, she's not a trained pro wrestler.
Oh, okay. All right. So 2019 was a little bit of a transitional year. I know G1 Supercard was probably it was the biggest thing ever in Ring of Honor, but there was a little bit of a transition, and we won't talk about that particular elephant in the room that caused that, but basically, what is your thoughts on Ring of Honor now that you guys have gotten back? You've filmed something. You did some matches. Was this a good restart for the company, getting the opportunity to kind of regroup after reshaping 2019?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, 2019 was different. Cody and the Bucks had been there for a few years previous, and they had left and opened AEW, which I think is a great thing, and I think anybody in wrestling would think is a great thing. It's an opportunity, another opportunity for places for guys to work. They're on a national scene. They also have a TV deal. I think it's nothing but good for the wrestling business. Like you were kind of saying, but without saying, is they were kind of the main event guys, and they had left, and 2019 was kind of the year to reshape things, and started bringing in a little bit more European talent, like guys like Mark Haskins and Joe Hendry and Session Moth. So I think it was just kind of one of those times to introduce some new people and see what was going to happen, because I think everybody knows in wrestling, if you follow it long enough, especially on a higher level, there's always going to be guys that can step up. Anybody that wrestles for Ring of Honor can be a main eventer. It's just about being given the opportunity. You don't get to a place like Ring of Honor or WWE or AEW by accident. You get there because you're talented and you have something to bring to the table. So I think it was just kind of the year for people to step up to the plate, and I think everybody did step up to the plate. So I think it was good, and it was just a growing period. That's all. And then it was looking really good, and we came into 2020, and everything stopped.
Everything stopped is right, yeah. So I'm going to mention a name that many people react different ways when I mention it, but I'm going to say that he praised you guys, and that is Jim Cornett. On his recent podcast, he praised Ring of Honor. He said the shows that you guys have been putting on with the Pure Tournament have been some of his favorite wrestling that he's watched recently. I know he's a polarizing character, but what do you think of him praising what you guys are doing?
I think it's cool, man. I know Jim Cornette's a very polarizing person. I think Jim has some great opinions on the pro wrestling business. He's a smart dude. He's a guy who has had longevity in wrestling, so he obviously knows what he's doing. I think that's, whether you like him or not, you gotta respect what he's done, and so I'll take that as a good compliment.
Well, obviously I was listening, so if I was listening, obviously I like a lot of what he has to say too. So, So, like we said, you guys filmed the Pure Tournament, and it's airing right now on Ring of Honor Television syndicated, and of course on Honor Club. But when do you think we're going to see Ring of Honor return to, I don't want to say normalcy, because I don't want to say this isn't normal, but maybe more like the TV shows that we saw prior to the pandemic?
You know, I'm not real sure, to be honest. I know they have another set of dates that they're going to tape some more TV. But you know, as far as getting back to normal, I'm not sure. You know, most of our travel schedule is typically, you know, we'd have a couple weekends a month, and you know, it'd be a couple house shows and then a TV taping once a month. So you know, where we tape, I said probably 4 weeks of TV, 3-4 weeks. And, you know, I don't know when we're going to get back to that, but it's nice to be able to at least get back to just doing the TV tapings, even though it's only every couple months. It's still, it's nice to be able to have that starting to come back, because it feels like, you know, maybe that's the right step in the right direction to get back to what's normal. But no, I'm hoping for next year. You know, I have a friend who works for Live Nation, which is like a concert promoter. Yeah, concert business. Yeah, the concert promoters. They have venues all over the country, and apparently they've just opened up. I believe the state of Indiana and the state of Connecticut opened up for being able to have concerts again, which I think would also kind of fall under pro wrestling shows. So, you know, I think that's a good possibility and a good step in the right direction. And maybe even if it means only being able to run in these states that will allow that, that might be a possible opportunity.
Yeah, it's kind of cool if you go on some band websites. If you have a band that really wants to be on the road, you'll see they're touring Texas quite a bit, and that's about it. So yeah. I guess wherever you're allowed to have a crowd, they'll show up.
Right, exactly.
I'll wrap up with 2 more questions. It's kind of 2 easy questions for you. You've had some pretty cool theme songs over the years. I heard you used Don't Stop Believin' once or twice, and then, of course, your ROH theme song. What song do you use for Ring of Honor, and what connection does it have to you?
So okay, so honestly, when you come to Ring of Honor, you know it's a TV company, so they can't use like you know, copyrighted music. So they actually have a bunch of music that they can buy the rights to. So it was something that I just kind of listened to a bunch of the music, and it was a song that I liked, and I thought it fit with me. So that, you know, that's what I picked, and I believe it's by a band named Voodoo Johnson.
That's cool. All right, and the final question is a cream puff question. It's where can fans find Silas Young merchandise and find you on social media?
All right, I appreciate that. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at LastRealManROH. You can find Silas Young, Last Real Man merchandise, as well as 2G1T tag team that I have with Josh Woods. You can find merchandise for us as well on ringofhonorwrestling.com. And you can also find some pretty unique, cool T-shirts that I have on prowrestlingtees.com/Silas Young. There's actually, you know, kind of a one that I had made 4 years back during the, or maybe 5 years back, you know, during the first election, and it's kind of a little cheeky thing, and it's Silas Young, Making Men Great Again. So that was a big seller, and as well as I have one that's like a Mike Tyson Punch-Out theme shirt, as well as probably about 6 or 7 other varieties to pick from. So, you know, if you're listening and you want to check it out, I always appreciate people buy merchandise. All
right. Did you ever beat Mike Tyson's Punch-Out?
You know what? I did a long time ago, and I tried doing it again, but it's something you just got to figure out what the algorithm is. Yeah.
I did once, too, and then my kids dared me to do it, and I got to, like, Bald Bull, and he just killed me 3 times in a row, and I said, that's it. I'm not as good at games as I used to be, so... All right, man. Well, I thank you. I thank you so much for taking the time to do this with me. I will let you know when I get this posted online, and thank you again for your time today.
Of course, man. Anytime. Thank you.
The preceding announcement was paid for by the Wrestling Epicenter.
Time to listen, and if you like what you heard, I'm glad. If you didn't like what you heard, well, go fuck yourself.
Most people done hung up on me.
We had a lovely conversation.
What a show.
Oh, mercy, Daddy.
On your radio dial. Don't hang up. Bye-bye.